Welcome to Today with Dr. J, where I give you the guidance and tools to figure out what works for you in your recovery. My name is Dr. D. Jaffe, and I'm here to help you live happier, more purposefully, and without limits. I tend to ruffle some feathers for doing this, but I do away with the notion of once an addict, always an addict, because I believe that anyone can beat their addiction. With the right mindset, tools, support, and education, nothing can stand in your way to success. You don't have to commit to anything but action. You don't have to have anything but motivation. Whether you want to quit, drink less, or simply become more mindful around mental health and addiction, I'm here for you. The topic that I want to talk about here today came as an inspiration from a practice that I do every morning. And the practice it has like these little tips every once in a while that it suggests for me. And yesterday, almost like as a suggestion, it just said, hey, why don't you ask somebody close to you how you can do better, how you can be better. And I thought that was a really, really cool tip and suggestion. And the reason that I thought it was really cool is not only because I know for sure, although I do know certainly, that there are ways in which I can get better. I would say maybe the biggest difference between who I am now and who I was at 18, 19, 20, and close to my mid-20s is I used to think I know a ton and I just have to prove to everybody else how much I know. Now I know that there's the vast majority of things that I need to understand and do to be the best version of myself. I'm still learning and will actively continue learning probably until the day I pass. So I do that regularly. And I think you all know it. We've talked about it here. I try to recommend for us, and I built into the Ignited program, and all of our coaches work so much on helping us work to make ourselves better. And that's beautiful, but there's a difference between that and having the humility to walk up to somebody and say, how can I be better? There's a need to put our ego aside, stop pretending, stop trying to make other people believe that we know what's going on, even if we're working on ourselves. And walking up to, let's say, your mom, your sister, your wife, your kid, your boss, a good friend, and saying, hey, do you notice anything about myself? Is there anything that you know about me that I could improve on? Like, I want you to think about that for a second, about walking up to somebody you know and saying that to them. I've talked about that book, The Biology of Belief, here quite a few times. Love the book. If you haven't read it, pick it up because it's amazing. And Bruce is the man. So I highly recommend checking that book out. But in that book, one of his main theses is the concept that we act nearly automatically the vast majority of the day. And it's based on programming that we all have and have had since we were little kids. I talk about that in the program all the time. That book that I talk about is getting right. Like we got a script from our parents and we're following it and we're not understanding why it's not exactly resonating. Bruce talks about it as programming. And so your built-in programming that you learn when you were younger. He talks about 90 to 95% of your behavior being run through this automatic programming, and you're doing it without meaning. And so you learn how to be in relationship from your mom and your dad. You may not like it, but you still learn how to do it. And so you're acting in that way that is congruent with what you learn. In our program, it's that sponge example, right? You're acting based on what you learn to do. The problem is you don't see it because it's so automatic. You just assume it is the way to be. And the example that he gives, and I've always used the opposite of it, so I'll tell you my version of it first, and I love his version. Have you ever tried to have a conversation with a friend who you could tell with certainty the person they were dating is the wrong person for them? You're looking at them in the relationship and you're like, what are you doing? This is not for you at all. Why is that? Because they're engaging in partnership, they're engaging in relationship, they're doing things, but they're not really fully aware of the way it's making them behave. And if you think about it, it's pretty easy to understand why. I see the world through my eyes. I look out. So I see how you all are acting. I don't have the easiest time seeing how I'm acting. I can't look at myself unless I'm looking in the mirror, right? I can't see what I'm doing. So I'm not monitoring my own behavior. I'm pretty sure that if somebody walked around with a video camera videotaping me the entire time when I was 18, 19, all the way up to like my mid-20s, I would have been incredibly embarrassed oftentimes at having to watch the videos of my own behavior, but nobody was. So I got to go on and just pretend like everything was fine. Bruce mentions it in the following way. And he says, have you ever told somebody, man, you really remind me of your mom, or you act just like your dad? And they look at you like you are crazy. Like, what are you talking about? I'm nothing like my dad. And go, all right. kind of exactly like your dad, but okay. Why is that? It makes sense. They learn how to behave from a parent, and now they're modeling that behavior, but they don't see it the same way. They have a completely different story in their mind. Here's the magic that we need to understand. Other people are not the only ones doing this. We're doing it all the time. We're all smart people. We're all very capable, but we are equally as fallible as anybody else we've ever met. We're not geniuses for being able to see somebody else's behavior better than they see themselves sometimes. We're just outside of them. Everybody else has the same different perspective about us as well. But how often do you walk up to somebody when nothing has gone wrong? Not because you screwed up, not because you made a mistake, not because you're forced to. How often do you walk up to people that you trust, that are close to you, and say, hey, what do you notice about the way I am that I can improve on? What can I get better at? One of the things I hate the most about the whole world of taking care of alcohol, drug problems, sex problems, whatever, is this whole concept of you have to hit rock bottom. No, you don't. There's nothing that requires us to hit rock bottom. It's just that when we have a consequence is the time where a lot of people tell us what's going on with us. A lot of people share with us their input, their insight on how we're behaving. Sometimes people that we don't like a lot, or that, don't like us a lot, or cops, judges, bosses, right? What is a judge doing when you go in front of a judge? They say, you screwed up. If you don't change the way you're screwing up, you're going to go to jail for a really long time. That's insight. But what if we can make that a practice? What if we can make it a regular, like, put our ego aside, stop having to be or having to pretend that we're perfect, because news we're not, and instead use our support network, use the people around us as guides, and say to your friend, your best friend, just walk up to them and say, hey, you know what? I really want to become a better version of myself. What do you notice about me that I'm having a hard time right now with, and maybe I'm not paying attention to so much? If they're good enough friends and they trust that they're not going to screw up the relationship by talking to you about this stuff, guarantee they have some input. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found the lessons helpful in your recovery. Click below to like, comment, and subscribe. Plus, if you want to find out more about the work that we do at Ignited, visit IGNTD.com for more.